Hey guys, welcome to our new video, our first video on MTG Arena about the sealed experience that we had yesterday for the release of the new set that is Duskmourn, House of Horror. In this video, we're going to talk about the sealed format and the experience we had in this pod that we got from these packs. We're going to talk about the colors we chose. We're going to talk about the top commons, the removals, the top uncommons, the rooms, that is this new mechanic that we have right now in Duskmourn. And finally, we're going to talk about the rare and mythic rares that we had to play because the sealed format is kind of the format that you need bones to play. And we're going to finish with a few combos that just took in our mind. Well, actually, the first colors that came up to us to play was color, because well, we get some enchantments, and we wanted to try this flying creatures and also the rooms that go very easy with it. So let's go on to the top commons first. Those top commons were pretty neat. I'm going to show you some of them that we decided to play, and it's going to be from the smallest mana value to the biggest mana value, because most of the time you really need to see how the curve is going, knowing that as any kind of format, you can have some aggro plays, mainly Boros in this format. So in here we had the first like 2 mana creatures. Like the cheerleader is definitely one of the best because this ability of survival makes it pretty hard to block, especially if you are on the play. A card that was kind of impressive in the beginning, but just became quite okay, was the Fear of Surveillance, where you actually have the ability to surveil. The Vigilance is not too bad because you can have it still on blocks instead of having just the attack and have it only tapped. The other part of it is that it's an enchantment, so it's going to trigger with all of these Azorius colors enchantments that you have. Creeping Fever had been also quite performing a lot in these 2 colors because of the ability that it has, like casting an enchantment spell, or a door, or turn a permanent face up. And finally, the Stalk Researcher. Stalk Researcher was a good defender for 3/3 2 mana. It's pretty good. The eerie part was pretty much deceiving. It was pretty hard to actually trigger it during the match, especially if you're on the draw. Some other uncommons, but a little bit more expensive, are the Unsettling Twins and the Climate Prowler. Of course, the Twins is pretty powerful as it comes with another creature that's as you need to manifest dread when it enters the battlefield. So you can be quite lucky and get one of your best creature out. Of course, like it's one chance out of 2, so basically you have to be a little bit lucky. The Crummy Prowler didn't feel like extremely impressive in the beginning, but it turns out that being an enchantment makes it a very good choice in our pod, especially with others and enchantments, as it's an enchantment itself, and making the attacking other creature unblockable is pretty hard, especially that this creature is also like a 2/5, even though it's quite still expensive for 4 mana, but it has its moment. One card that didn't come up in the beginning, but we decided to put it, is Emerge from the Cocoon, which makes you like returning a creature from the graveyard to the battlefield, and you gain 3 lives. That can be actually pretty meaningful sometimes. It was pretty impressive with some of your bombs that can just go back to the battlefield. Let's go now on to the removals part. So the removals part in these colors are pretty weak, and this is also like the main problem sometimes with the seal. We didn't have many removals, especially in other colors. But yeah, I mean, like we could do some tricks during the games. So let's go on. So the first one was, of course, like some of the counter spells of this is not really removal, but it's kind of removing and playing the tempo formats, especially in Azores. So we had Don't Make a Sound and Get Out are the two options. Of course, like Don't Make a Sound is a little bit less restrictive than Get Out. Well, but Don't Make a Sound doesn't look extremely good at the end game, but can really stop your opponents from playing the early cards. Get Out has also like this ability to return some creatures onto your hand or enchantments that we can do that with some rooms that we're going to talk a little bit later. And it was pretty good actually because you sometimes like unlock all the doors, the full room, and you actually expect to do something else. So Get Out can be a good option sometimes. Of course, like Trapped in the Screen is also an extremely good removal, having this ward too and being able to just get rid of any like artifact, creature, or enchantment makes it a very good card on 3 mana. Next, we had the Fear of Imposters, which is a pretty good counterspell. And of course, the down part is this Manifest Thread, but it gives you as well another blocker. So yeah, this card was pretty good in general. Glimmerburst not like removal by itself, but having a possibility to create this 1/1 glimmer that is actually an enchantment makes most of your creature triggers, and then it becomes quite powerful actually, and you can also like block it very easily a lot of these 3/1s attacking by spreading your opponent, and of course drawing two cards as it replaces itself and draws another card. Seals from the Slumber, like of course it shows as it's the most expensive one, but it has also like this good part of destroying target creatures that is like actually tapped. So it's also like a very good option. Let's move on to the top uncommons now. There's a lot of top of uncommons that will be on your pod, of course, and here's a little bit of the choices that we made for this seal that we got yesterday. So basically, what we chose was to play the enchantments. That is a very good synergy overall with the deck. With the, of course, well-known optimistic scavenger that gives a +1/+1 counter on target creature each time you have an enchantment and or unlock fully a room. Of course, Ethereal Armor is also a very good card, as enchantment gets a +1/+1 for each enchantment, so your creatures can grow very fastly with this. We also decided to play sometimes this Keys to the House because like the mana value is also sometimes a little bit weird, as you expect your pod to give you double lands, but sometimes double lands don't exist or probably like the wrong colors. So keep in mind that Keys to the House has these two parts of course, like sacrificing it for one and taking a basic land that might be a good idea if you want to splash a color, and then you also have this possibility to like unlock a door of a room if for the long game you don't really need the land anymore. So we found it very useful as it has the other part, and as we played a lot of rooms in our deck. Let's go now on to the other creatures. So two creatures that were pretty meaningful and pretty powerful. The Fear of Isolation, as an enchantment creature, and when you cast it, you have to return a permanent control. So bouncing any ETB effect or bouncing, for example, a room that you have completely unlocked can be a good idea sometimes, especially if you don't have like full mana to unlock all the doors of your room. Another card that was extremely powerful in this format was the Ghostly Keybearer. Ghostly Keybearer like lets you unlock a door each time it's going to deal combat damage to a player. And actually, in this format, like we had to face a lot of Selenia, and Selenia has only reach, but sometimes the reach creature they don't come out like very early, and then it was kind of a good way to get through most of the time. Another very powerful uncommon was Savior of the Small. Well, the 3/4 makes it pretty hard to block, and then when you have this survival mode, actually it's pretty easy to get one of the creatures, like the small creatures that died a little bit before. Another one that shown a lot was the Lionheart Glimmer. The Lionheart Glimmer having this ward 2 makes it extremely complicated to remove, and having this ability to get +1/+1 each time you attack is extremely powerful. And finally, and we talked probably a lot during the pre-release of the set, is Fear of Abduction. You have to remind that you have to exile a creature you control, because actually when you exile a creature with the Fear of Abduction, then the card is not going back to the battlefield, but the card exile is going to go back to the owner's hand. Well, let's talk now about these rooms. So we have this new mechanic in Duskmourn. The rooms was a little bit like puzzles in the first place, when we had to see what the card really does and so on. But it's very powerful, like these enchantments that stay on the battlefield and have the ability to actually unlock two doors. It was extremely useful. Out of this, we get like three of them that were mainly predominant. Let's say like the bottomless pool, which is like returning up to one target creature to his own hand. So as we talked about before, the temple card is extremely good. At the same time, Meat Locker also plays around this temple card. And of course, if you can return it into your hand, then you can replay it again. The surgical suit and hospital room were pretty good, but sometimes, as you don't really want to play it as an early play, it also had this down part that it's stuck in your head for no reason, as maybe no creature died in your previous turns. Let's go now to the other part, where we're going to talk about the card that looked quite impressive in the beginning, but actually were not as good as we expected. So first one, we had this Veteran Survivor, being 2/1 for 1 mana, which makes it very good and has the ability to exile the target card from a graveyard each time it taps and has a survival mode. It is good in the way that you can actually get rid of this delirium effect from your opponent, but overall it was pretty weak, because a 2/1 can die very easily. So you have your first turn, your second turn that is very good, but then after that it's pretty weak. The Cold Healer as well, being a 3 mana for 3/3, giving the lifelink because of the area was pretty hard to play, because most of the time, like 3 mana 3/3 and having the enchantment coming is a little bit pretty much slow. So actually I would advise to play the hardened escort instead, as it gives the indestructible and has a better toughness compared to the healer. So I mean, what's good in here is that for the same mana cost, Hardened Escort is going to be a little bit less powerful, but a better blocker, and sometimes a better attacker as well. Other cards that couldn't be really shining too much in blue. So we had the Paranormal Analyst. Well, we played because we had a very high curve most of the time, so we wanted to play a 2-drop, as some of the deck can be very aggro. So it blocks a lot of creatures in the beginning. It doesn't really synergize with the whole deck, as the Manifest Dread was not part of our strategies. So, well, unless you really have no other choice as we did, then you can like skip this card for sure. Erratic Apparition Flying Vigilance for 3 mana 1/3 was also not a very good card, because the 1/3 is pretty weak, and even the area, it's like getting +1/+1 only once or twice maybe, but it's pretty shallow. The Seal format gave us also like 3 of this Duskmourn domination most of the time. 6 mana for controlling creature and kind of removing it was not really the best, to be honest. So basically we decided not to play it, and it's always a down part of Seal that you have in your pod, like some of the creatures or some of the enchantments or cards that are pretty much dead because you have no synergy with it. And then let's go to the last part, rares, like the mythic rares that we decided to play. So basically, compared to traditional draft, I mean draft in general, like premier draft and quick draft, for example, where it's not really necessary to play all the rare cards. Most of the time, the sealed formats like forces you a little bit to go onto this direction, as a lot of bombs are going to appear on your opponent's hands. It's not always the case, of course. It's only my opinion, but this is what we kind of realize most of the time playing sealed and facing like very big bombs. So the first rare that we got was the Silent Hole Creeper, making it like unblockable, having a 1/1 that can put 2+1/+1 counters when it deals damage to a player, or drawing a card or picking up a copy of another creature. Was like, of course, like extremely good. Anyway, if it's not removed, I kind of like the entity tracker a lot in our second sealed. Yeah, because like having flash makes it pretty hard to play around. Can easily block those small creatures, the 1/1s, 2/2s, as there's a lot of aggro players in the format. And of course, like the eerie part, like drawing a card and whatever an enchantment you control enters, makes it very good. Especially that we had it at the same time at the Overlord of the Flood Beats and the other overloads that we're going to see in a minute. So basically, what you wanted to do again is kind of playing the tempo. So don't play it like this right away, or play the overload right away as it has this impending part, but just like wait a little bit and then just go flash. Try to get the full value of the entity trigger was actually pretty good. On the white part, we had this hovership being able to actually exile a creature with toughness 5 or less. Of course, making it also uh, a good card, as having this flying and crew one is amazing. The Overlord of the Mistmoors as well was extremely triggering with our previous cards, as I mentioned it. And definitely the last one was kind of the Glossy Dancer in this enchantment part, as you can bring back a room that has been destroyed. Some of the green colors like cards do that, and of course being able to put all of these 3/1s erase with the array is amazing. So yeah, it's not cards that you can easily skip anyway. And finally, we can go on with our last part, like a combo. So the seal format like allows you to kind of try to splash a color, because like we have double lens compared to Bloomberg, which is a little bit more complicated. So yeah, we splashed a color, and here was a combo. So basically, this combo was all about like having Marvin trying to copy the ability of the Jolly Balloon Man. So it was kind of reminding us of the fable of what we call like Kikiri Jiki most of the time. So it's amazing with the glimmers, for example, that puts gives +1/+1 to your creatures that are attacking with copying. It was an amazing combo, and that's why sometimes like getting the keys, as I said and as I mentioned before, was kind of a good thing, as we were playing Azorius and we could splash this little red that made the full combo extremely performing. Well, guys, very much for thank you listening to this video, listening to me. Don't forget to like and subscribe the video to the channel. Well, if you need more advice about this experience, and still don't hesitate to put some comments. And of course, like if you want to know more about how we play these decks, you can have a look to our videos on our channel is Demigods, where you can find like our old and excellent Daxos. So see you guys. Bye.